So you ever wonder what the difference between a career and a job is? We're going to talk about that today because I think in this ever-changing environment that we are in, it seems that people are just moving around. The term career doesn't seem like it, I guess like it used to be.
No, it seems like our parents and grandparents had like one job. And now people
it's like
are constantly changing jobs, changing industries.
Yep.
So we're going to talk about like why, what's going on? Our career's dead.
And we're going to give you 3 points as to why we're seeing or what this difference is between career and jobs and this job hopping. 3 points that I think are going to help understand the why as to what's going on around you with your colleagues, with these careers that you're looking into, these jobs that you're potentially going to get, or the current one you have.
Help navigate those tumultuous waters.
Tumultuous waters.
Word of the day, tumultuous.
I think it should be said here as we start today's show, a job and a career is pretty different, wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think we should define them each.
Go ahead.
So a job is a specific position often held for a short term for immediate income and to meet financial needs, where a career involves a job in a specific industry that includes specialty training over time and their working lifetime, which involves progression, increased responsibility, and long-term development.
Okay, so just from like a social setting for a second, when someone says, I have a job, right? What's the first thing that comes to your mind? Like regardless of the age of the person, say, I have a job.
I think like retail, receptionist.
I think but by the way, these are all real and nothing's bad about these things, but retail, Starbucks,
it's
fast food,
something like
job.
Temporary. That's not like, that's not your like long-term position.
Right, which is interesting because there's places that I think we would deem in a retail space or let's say a fast food chain or something like that. And there are great careers.
Really good careers, yeah.
I actually talk about this as one of my things. You've heard me say this on the show, the McDonald's millionaire, right? This idea that you don't actually need to make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year to actually have a $1 million retirement. You just have to live right and be disciplined. That's my point.
In-N-Out managers, allegedly, I don't know this confirmed, make like what? 180.
Yeah.
Like
you can make a career out of it.
Career.
So
Depends
I guess
region, but
one of the differentiating points that I bring up when I talk about like money with clients and this difference between the descriptions you gave of a job and a career is kind of this like hourly versus salary is one aspect that comes up, right? If it's hourly, you kind of seem to be more on the job related things and therefore can be a little more transient, saying, okay, I'm just doing this for now and I want to do something different, something like that. Right. Whereas career, you kind of get more into a salary. But what's interesting to note about the description, and I was going through this in pre-notes looking at this, it's involving a job in a specific industry, right?
Yeah, that's the difference to me is like when career, it's like you're staying within the same industry because you're usually training, you're getting more education, you're focusing on that. So you could do a different job with multiple companies in that, but it's still your career in that, like a doctor or something like that. Like I see it as a ladder. If I'm working a job, I'm typically not interested in the next rung. Whereas even if you're switching companies, you're looking for the next rung on the ladder of that industry.
Career. Yeah.
That would be the career. If I'm like, I'm a sales associate for 5 years. And then, I'm a building contractor over here for 5 years.
Yeah.
I'm switching. I'm not looking for the next. I'm just getting another job.
And that actually leads into so what we're seeing nowadays, and I'll have Kira talk a little bit about this idea of job hopping.
A couple interesting stats about job hopping. So right now, almost 2/3 of workers in the US are actively looking for a new job, which is a lot.
Hold on, back up. 2/3 in the entire workforce are surveyed to be looking for a new job. Or another job.
That's not unemployed people. That's even employed and looking.
Employed and
That's
looking.
crazy.
So the research found that workers stay with one employer for on average about 4.1 years, holding down an average of 12 jobs in their working lifetime. And comparatively, in the 50s and 60s, people changed careers or jobs on average only 3 times in their lifetime. So we've seen
4x.
Yeah.
Baby boomers typically stayed at a single job for 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
Which would make sense. 3 jobs over your career.
Yeah.
So you definitely, like the stats say this is definitely a thing. Like we are shifting away from this career-based
I don't
life.
think anyone would argue that either. I think anyone watching this right now and I was talking about it, like we've all seen it. It's kind of become normal over the past probably 10 or 20 years, right?
Yeah, then the question is, so why?
I agree, but before we get to the why, what's interesting to note, and I think anyone watching this, and some of us, maybe even Kira's generation, because she's a little bit different than our generation, just bringing it up, right? I think, and let me ask you this, you're speaking for your entire generation now, as we normally do.
I like to not categorize myself with the others, but that's fine.
Be the people here.
Sure.
An old soul.
My question is, if you were to read that stat as someone under the age of 30 right now, let's just say, because usually under 30, you're trying to find your career, you're getting your college done or whatever, right? Would you look at that stat for someone in the 50s and 60s and kind of think that's like archaic and like, I would never do that? Because I feel like that's the sentiment that's going on right now.
Like the thought of you and your peers feel like, oh, could I work one job at one company for 40 years?
Yeah.
I'll say, personally speaking, I think that's great. Like, I don't think that's a bad concept, but I just think now, like, the research is showing that Gen Z stays in one job for 1.1 years. So like just over a year.
Wow.
And I know that for like a lot of my friends, like they may have gone to college and gotten careers or gotten degrees like communications or psychology, which are seemingly like okay degrees. And they just found out that there's no jobs for it. And like AI has been implemented in our working lifetime, like in the very beginning. So now I feel like the job market has also shifted. So I feel like there's a lot of just trying to figure things out that are skewing these numbers.
I think that's fair. But I will also say, I think the mentality is also like, if I'm not happy right now,
correct,
I need to find happiness.
There's, I think one stat that doesn't show up on there, there's a ton more options right now than there were in the 50s and 60s. You had to go to a factory and work. You had to go to that job because that's what you did. You were the milkman, you were the milkman kind of thing, right?
I feel like in the 50s and 60s, people worked their job. They worked really hard, 9 to 5, and there was like a life balance. Mm-hmm. I think in, I'll say like the 80s, 90s, there was this like, I don't know, like Wolf of Wall Street. Like, I'm just going to bust my butt 20 hours a day. Oh, yeah. And then
we were raised in that environment and our parents were working like crazy.
Yeah. And I feel like now,
it was like the culture.
Like people my age are like, I don't want to spend my whole life working every hour of the day. So I would rather have a job where I'm less devoted or like less responsibility so that I can have work to life balance.
See, like on the whole, that's healthy. But with what Jared might say here, and I just want to say this, like on the whole, I do believe in the work-life balance. I think that's definitely, we were there and then we drifted into like overworking, and now I'm a product of that environment. I didn't want to, we're now drifting back the other way. That's good in that sense for our family. If you're a parent or if you're going to be a parent raising kids, I can speak to that, being involved with them and not missing dances and sports stuff because of work, right? That's all good.
And I was going to comment on that. When you first started describing that, I think there's something you said that like we're kind of taught, or we believe like, hey, find what makes you happy. And I think a lot of the Gen Zers, and especially the alphas or betas or whatever they are, you're getting this like, oh, find what makes you happy. Find what makes you happy. That's what you do. That mentality was never taught to me.
No.
And I know my parents watch, and if they did, I forgot. But
my bad.
I don't remember ever hearing like, or at least with teachers and things like that.
Just get a job.
The culture wasn't, hey, let's start. What do you like to do?
Yeah.
What brings you joy in life? Find a career in that. It wasn't that. It was what is stable.
Yeah.
What will provide. These were the things that were priorities over that. So when you start to say like what makes you happy, well, the reality of a job is, even if a job you like isn't going to make you happy all the time. Mm-hmm. And so I think when people start chasing, well, what makes me feel good? What makes me happy all the time? Well, work is work. That's why I don't call it fun.
Yeah.
I call it work.
Yeah.
And you start getting on the hard days, you're like, well, this doesn't make me happy, even if you actually like it.
Yeah.
And I think that mentality is really driving this like, well, what's on the other side of the fence?
I love that. But remember, happiness can be a choice. I'm not talking about some mindset issues, get those checked out, but happiness can be a choice in the sense of an emotion. What I'm trying to get at here is, I think I've always tried to counsel people and talk to people about their purpose. I've said this before, right? Careful not to follow your heart, find your purpose. Because you find your purpose, those days that are hard still are meaningful. Does that make sense? So you're not just every day chasing an emotion. Like the last thing we want in our lives is to live on emotions. And if we're happy in one thing for today, it doesn't mean it's going to make us happy 10 years from now, right? But purpose, really dialing into like what this whole saying, be useful, right? What is something that I'm good at? What is something that I want to learn more about? And what is something that is productive for society, my community, so on and so forth? Find what you like to do and do it. You know what I mean? But there is job hopping going on.
Yeah, I do feel like you guys view our generation as like, oh, our parents were like, oh, what makes you happy? Oh, picking flowers in a field. Okay, go find that as a job.
That is exactly what I think.
Yeah, I can tell.
He's not joking.
But I feel like we sat in school and they were like, oh, what do you like doing? Oh, you like helping people? Okay, great. Like nurses help people. Doctors help people. These careers help people. Let's like.
We had guidance counselors, but they were like, we need to get you, the elephant in the room seemed to be like, we need to get you a job and let's just figure out what that is.
Yeah.
It wasn't
I also like
you know,
I graduated right when the pandemic happened. And I feel like post-pandemic is kind of really when this switch happened, because that's when
I agree with that.
TikTok creators started being a stream of income and influencing became a stream of income. You know what I mean? But
also,
it's
the
not
world
like,
shut down, so you had to do these other lines of businesses. The whole job career thing all of a sudden really went work from home and remote and all these kind of things.
Or just laid off and no job.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
I'm gathering that like we all kind of agree that careers are, at least the career mentality is on the decline, jobs are up. And I think we have some kind of points to maybe point to why this might be happening, or at least to describe the changing culture.
Yeah. The big one is this word, we've kind of touched on it, but this idea of stable.
Yeah.
So one of the notes we wrote down here was this collapse of the traditional stable career model. It's this idea of like the corporate ladder, right? It's kind of breaking. This idea of riding the corporate ladder is no longer of interest, or as much interest as it used to be. Like, yes, people are job hopping, but when they say that, it sounds like it's a negative connotation, and we're trying to just go through why and what that means and how it relates to 2026, not 1966, right? The collapse of this stable career model, that's what point we made earlier, where it's kind of I feel like it's gone on long enough now, 10, 15, 20 years, where the employers are kind of working with the employees or vice versa. And this model is becoming like, hey, we want you to grow with us, but at the same time, we're aware that we want to give you the expertise to stay in this field. And if you need to move on, you need to move on. But we also have to protect ourselves too. That's the pessimistic side where they're like not giving them anything. There's a lot of benefits that are still out there. And I would argue there's more fringe benefits going on than ever before too. I work in that space.
Yeah.
So this whole idea like companies are taking away things. Yes, there's pensions are being taken away. Yes, that's not the employer's fault. That was largely due to 2008, and a lot of things that have happened in the past 25, 30 years.
But that model is definitely changing, of this, just like you get on the ladder, that's where you are, and you climb. It's more of like, well, you jump here, maybe go. It's more.
Well, and what they realized was by jumping over, if you have an associate level job at XYZ, but ABC company says, hey, you're experienced and we have this opening position, we can get you into a VP role. It almost jumps the ladder in the current company over, and that's what's been going on. By the way, that's been happening. That has always been around. It just seems like it's more prevalent now.
I think a couple other things that go underneath that are wage stagnation and inflation. So our paycheck value is being eroded by the cost of living, which causes people to seek higher income jobs. So also through freelancing, contract work, and the side hustle.
Yeah. So let's just start at the top. Basically, the 30-year average of inflation, which is what the Fed typically uses, is still hovering right around 3%. So there's that. Now, is what I just said translate to your paycheck or your rent or things like that, or house prices? No. Those are all in their own siloed things. Here in Southern California, it has gone. We did a whole show on this about the affordability of mortgages, right? And it is, I think it was 3 or 4 times, the home price was 3 or 4 times the salary it was 30 years ago. So there is a disparity. So we are seeing it, but not everywhere. So everyone wants to say, oh, it's way more expensive, can't do it. It just happens to be in the bigger things that we, as like our American like culture, the American dream is to buy a house. That's a big one.
Another one is lack of job security. White collar layoffs are constant.
That seems to be very prevalent.
Oh my gosh, anytime you turn on the news.
Tech,
laid off.
Corporations seem to be laying off, especially
people.
with the AI replacing workers.
Well, that, and we also...
This is a thing.
And a lot of temporary hires. Been seeing this a lot recently.
Well, because there's a lot of laws around that, because you can temp hire, and there's more people that will take the temp hire. Why? Because they're willing to do temp work because they have other lines of business.
Yeah, but I think if employers are constantly laying people off, if you have all your eggs in one basket, that seems more risky. So then for other people, I think if they have 3 jobs, they're like, maybe, my schedule's a little hectic, but at least if I get laid off one place, I'm not out of income.
A little bit of their own insurance policy, huh? But this is my other comment I make that I wrote down here is this prioritizing, we talked about this earlier, the well-being side of things. Most people right now, especially the workforce, is prioritizing their well-being. And I would say ultimately their flexibility, right? They're trying to avoid this burnout that the 80s and 90s our parents had. I love that. I'm for that. I think it's good for parents watching this, grandparents kind of talking with their kids and grandkids. It's kind of like a generational thing. They won't stay at a job. I'm like,
right.
It's okay.
I will say I have an additional point under this breakdown point.
Yeah.
I think legacies, family legacy jobs are also like disappearing. And by that, I mean like back in the day, if your father was a farmer, you're a farmer. If he was a carpenter, if he was a butcher, you were that. They often had their own little businesses they would pass down, but you learn the trade kind of in the family. Mm-hmm. And I feel like those are disappearing.
Well, think about it.
As well.
I agree with you, but think about it. Those are coming from longer careers in one field. For example, I would debunk that and say with a lot of clients I work with, first responders in particular, police and fire, a lot of their kids do follow suit. Kids learn by
not taught.
Caught, not taught. So they're seeing this going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Psychology.
And it's not a per person thing, but yeah.
It almost might be too if you like you have a good relationship with your father.
Yeah.
And they have a good job.
Yeah.
As opposed if you don't have a good
relationship.
relationship.
I'm not doing anything that man ever did.
Or he's a workaholic and comes back angry every day and yells at you.
Unfortunately, even if they don't want to, they kind of falling into the same kind of thing, which is unfortunate. It may not be in the same career, but they end up overworking themselves because it's all they know.
Yeah, true.
It's like deep down, right? So so I guess what I'm trying to say is it's cool that they're still working very hard. They're just working very hard in a different way. We used to align working hard was you got up, you went to work at 8, you came home at 5, done.
You're saying you don't need careers anymore.
What I'm saying is these people, this generation of these job hoppers or moving around or having the side hustles, they're actually still working. I would argue they're working equally as hard. They're just doing it in a more efficient way, something that works for them, that hits these things, right? They don't care about the corporate ladder that much anymore. That's kind of a sentiment we've already talked about.
Yeah.
The prioritizing their well-being is becoming a focus. It wasn't there 30, 40 years ago.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then this technology, we've talked about it loosely here, AI, but this rise of technology and portfolio careers, the whole gig stuff and temporary work and side stuff is on the rise.
And to that, and we talked about this the other day, there's been a rise of buying a van, living on the road and working remotely. To the technology point, we didn't have that 30 years ago where you could be like, I have a Starlink internet and I can work from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And so you can, and a lot of those jobs are a little more temporary or contract work.
Yeah.
And so that is making it easier to kind of like, well, I'm just going to maybe see the world while I work.
That's why these stats are rising. These stats are rising just because the accessibility, right? The culture of not having to chase this ladder. I love that, by the way. I do, because there was the whole crab in the barrel Americana thing, which was like, I'll step on you to get ahead.
Yeah.
This next generation is kind of cool. They're like, hey man, do you. I'm gonna do me. I got these good different lines. I don't need to climb this ladder and step over this person. That's cool.
As long as that matches up with their financial situation, like, yeah, I'm cool with that.
Yes.
As long as I'm cool living in a 2-bedroom, small home, driving a modest car.
I'm glad you said that, because here's the thing, and maybe we land this plane here. I see this sentiment a lot, and I think it's important to talk about, where to that point, they'll do that, and you got to understand that could be really great for you financially. It might also just make you a lot of joy and give you just what you need to pay your bills and live your life and hopefully put some savings away for later. Okay? But it can't have you coming in saying that's the choice you made and being bitter that you don't have a 4-bedroom house, okay? Aren't driving some fancy car,
yes,
aren't wearing fancy watches or whatever luxury to you would be, right? That's important that we make sure that we don't cross over. And it's important for 2 reasons. One, it's a negative sentiment on the society around you, the community, the people you're talking to. No one wants a Debbie Downer, right? But the second part is it's really not great for your soul. Because if that's what you're doing and you keep constantly looking over your shoulder thinking you don't have something, then you're going to be in constant like odds with yourself. That's
the mentality is know the reality. If I want to be a poet,
which by the way, fun fact, Jared did at one point.
But if I want to be a poet and that's what brings me joy and I love, there's nothing wrong with that. But my reality is the average, I guess, income of a poet or a street mime or some of these things, it's very, very small percentage, you'll be a millionaire doing that.
And also, that's okay. That's my
And
point
that's
of saying
okay.
this. It's not a, don't let society tell you it's not
So
okay.
the mentality is, I can choose that and be happy, but I have to understand I might have to live a more meager lifestyle. My point was, you can't expect the world to be like, I want to do whatever I want to do and makes me happy. And I deserve to be making millions a year doing it. And that's simply the should. It's not the should world we live in. The reality of is you have to make a choice most of the time of, I can do what I like. It makes me happy. It doesn't always come with that lifestyle I want to live on top of that. I also want to have my own private island.
And you know what? There are those. That's not what we're saying.
Name me one poet you both know currently working that is a success.
Rumi.
No, you don't.
Oh, this one guy on Instagram's awesome.
I literally read the books.
She's angry.
Yes.
At you. She's angry.
They have beach house.
Just to clear the air here. Just
one.
like it's not. It's awesome for you to find your purpose and do it. Just make sure. That's why we do this show, is to make sure you find the tools within there to make sure it works for you. Don't let the noise seep in, right?
Sure.
You can still, again, that McDonald's millionaire, I always say, you can still make 30, 40, 50 grand a year. You just got to make some choices to make sure. That's all I'm saying is the spread.
Agreed.
And be happy with what you're doing. If that's the choice you're making, be happy with it. And I can tell you, speak to your point about entrepreneur, I've been doing this 23 years. It wasn't until about year 17 that I actually started making money at this.
Right.
So I'm very aware of what it takes and the stress and the down days, man. It is gnarly. And I'm not saying I was looking for that kind of financial freedom, if you will, by doing what I loved, and I'm very grateful that it happened. It's finally, but it maybe it took someone 20 years or 30 years. Maybe it didn't happen at all. Still love doing it, right?
Bueno.
She made $1.4 million in sales in 2018.
Dang. Who?
Rupi Kaur?
Oh, that's cute. Is she a poet?
Yeah.
Oh,
Get it, Ruby.
Rupi.
The exception that proves the rule.
I love it. Hope you guys enjoyed that today. We did. As always, thank you to our subscribers who follow us every week. We got a good one coming out next week. We're going to be talking about...
Is college even worth it anymore?
Oh.
Beat you to it.
Ooh. I got some good stuff to say about this. I'm sure you do too.
I have a lot to say about this.
We'll see you guys next week. As always, if you lead with love, it's going to be all right. See you guys. Don't want that. I had a lot of burps going on there.
Yeah, there was a lot of sounds that just came out.
Mountain Valley will clear it up.
Oh, hi there. Do you drink Mountain Valley? Do you get thirsty?
Oh, hi there.
I can see you there. Mm-hmm. My big green bottle got in the way.
The gigantic green bottle. Yeah.